In this video, I'll be sharing with you some fundamental theory behind business-to-business lead generation and how you can do it as well. The first thing that is important to understand is that there's a massive difference between the target audience that you're aiming for with business-to-business lead generation as compared to business-to-consumer lead generation. You're talking about a highly specialized group of people, or at least knowledgeable group of people that are high value and they have no interest in bullshit. So how do you best approach them? You need to carefully think about how much time, resources you're willing to put into each individual lead for it to make sense in business-to-business lead generation. Next to the target audience, them being just more highly specialized, you also have to consider that they're often working in teams. So first of all, there's no impulse buy or almost nothing in regards to impulse buying. But more than that, you have to consider the fact that they're highly focused on return on investment. A consumer does not tend to make that type of calculation in their head. But a business person, a specialist, an entrepreneur, they'd be much more focused in what am I getting in return? How much is this going to cost me in time and money? And who are all the other stakeholders I have to involve in order to, take that next step? Another thing you have to consider is the fact that there's generally a longer lead time. So there are two groups of people essentially, right? People that need your product right now and people that might need your products later. Most of the people let's say your leads that you generate will be people that need your products later. So this necessitates then long-term communication, long-term relationship building, and you understanding what they need. Sometimes you're basically dealing with a person that needs to convince either their management or the rest of their team to, let's say, take a step with you. And you're essentially not only selling to them, but you're helping them sell to the rest of their colleagues as well. And that can be quite a challenge. So you have to be prepared for longer lead times. And that's also why you should always be generating leads and always be doing communication. But you have to be prepared for that longer lead and sales cycle. So when you're doing business-to-business lead generation, you have to think, where are these people? Where do I meet them? And it's certainly not on just social media. Potentially, LinkedIn is also always an option, and there are some people doing really well on it, but you just have to consider it carefully. Where are my target audiences hanging out? Where do they see my message? And how do I get them to react when I know that they're not people that are going to be, let's say, buying a template or buying those typical business to consumer products? Okay, so what can you do today to start doing business to business lead generation? I'll summarize it in a few steps. First, determine your target audience. And I want you to think very carefully about who they are, how they think, what they find valuable. Then I want you to think about how much you're actually willing to spend to convert each client, because it affects your marketing campaign by a lot. Let's say you are a web agency, which is something I've done and sometimes still do, and you sell your websites for around, let's say the average client is $10,000. I would say 5 to 10% of that revenue can be spent in order to convert a business-to-business lead, because you're getting $9,000 for every $1,000 you spend. And as long as the cost calculations of your service make sense and you bake this into your price, you can send them bottles of wines, invite them out to dinner. You can go as far as you need to within that budget, within the total campaign that you're running, in order to convert them. And that gets me to my third point, which is create a hook that's actually interesting to them. So it's not only the total thing of how you get their attention, what I just spoke about, but also when they're ready, let's say, to take the next step with you, what do you offer to give them that final push? Then you need to run the campaign, evaluate the campaign, run the campaign again. Lead generation is a long-term play. You're building a list that slowly keeps converting into clients. And at some point, you'll know that for every 25 clients that I get into my pipeline, 5 of them at least becomes a client in the next month.